They came in their thousands, streaming across the border, desperate to buy basic food and medicine in the 12 hours they were given. For many suffering under the weight of Venezuela's food shortages, it was a lifeline.
I came here to buy rice, sugar, milk, medicine and anything else we can get because we already don't have anything to eat. We're starving.
They gave us a free pass through the border and we're taking advantage of it. Thank God, because the situation is critical. People from all over came today.
Since oil prices plummeted, Venezuela, which exports little else, has found itself with a huge hole in its budget and has been unable to feed its people. Queuing often for hours is the norm, only to find that there is little available to buy when they reach the top of the line. This border opening comes days after hundreds of Venezuelan women, frustrated by the dire situation, broke through controls in search of food. Many others have been crossing over illegally as well. Venezuelans normally need special permits to enter Colombia, a measure introduced to clamp down on cross-border crime. But with the situation so critical, there are now plans to try and permanently open the borders, offering some lasting reprieve in this deep crisis. Regid Ahmed, BBC News.
Welcome back to Hannity Tonight. Nearly 8 years after President Obama was elected, on the mantle of hope and change, his hometown of Chicago is facing a hopeless epidemic of violent shootings. Now, this story is not getting the attention that it deserves from the mainstream media, and as the death toll in Chicago continues to climb, well, the president himself has been noticeably quiet. Now, for example, look at some of the recent headlines from the Windy City. According to the Chicago Tribune, just yesterday, 3 people killed, 7 others wounded. But that's not all. Chicago's children are all too often becoming victims of this violent crime epidemic. Could you imagine waking up and reading these headlines? Like, for example, June 20th, quote, 3-year-old boy critically injured in Woodlawn shooting. June 29th, 4-year-old child shot in the face in Parkway Gardens. July 2nd, father, 2 children killed in Hazel Crest shooting. July 5th, cousins 5 and 8 shot while playing with sparklers. July 6th, 4-year-old shot in the back in drive-by on South Side. And sadly, we could go on and on. Now, since the president took office, there have been at least 3,470 murders in Chicago, and by the way, many others shot. So why doesn't our commander-in-chief speak out about this when he rushes to judgment in Ferguson with Trayvon Martin, the Cambridge police? Now, during this segment tonight, on the right side of your screen, we're going to be scrolling through the names of people murdered in the Windy City only going back to January 2015. 3,470 killed in Chicago since Obama's been president, and I bet you have not heard of any of these names. Here now with reaction is former 2016 GOP presidential candidate Ben Carson. Dr. Carson, why does the president only weigh in on high-profile racial shootings and ignore 3,470 dead Chicago residents, his hometown? We don't know these names. We haven't heard these names. Why does he only weigh in on those other incidents?
Well, it's not just him. It's also the mainstream media. Why are they not concerned about the carnage that is going on, innocent children being killed? It represents such an incredible hypocrisy and double standard. Those lives matter also. And you think about, how did those kids get injured? They were injured by people who have a blatant disregard for the sanctity of life of the people who are around them. Those lives matter nothing to them. Why are we not going after those people?
I think that's a great point. You know, it's very frustrating. Even today, this guy, DeRay McKesson from Black Lives Matter, a group that has chanted pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon, what do we want, dead cops, when do we want them now? This guy that's a member of that group, some of the members have chanted these things, and one Black Lives Dallas chapter said, oh, this Texas shooting of 5 officers is justified. These killer cops have been killing our black men and women every day and getting away with it. I have no sympathy whatsoever for those cops or their families. They didn't give a damn when it's our black men and women. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Why is this guy at the White House today on the day they're burying these police officers?
It's pretty amazing. And, you know, I suspect if all of a sudden the police said, okay, we get your point. We're leaving. You guys are on your own. Then they would be saying, you're racist, you're prejudiced against us, you don't want to protect us. I mean, the hypocrisy is unbelievable. But the problem is the carnage. All of those children, all of those young men, they have families, they have mothers, they have people who love them. When are we as a nation going to wake up and recognize that this is a severe internal problem that we have to deal with? It's the family structure that has deteriorated to the point where people no longer have values. We're divorcing ourselves from morality. The church is no longer relevant. And what are we substituting for it? Alinsky-type philosophy. Saul Alinsky, Hillary Clinton's hero, that she wrote her thesis about, whose book, Rules for Radical, is dedicated to Lucifer. This is where we're going. We have got to wake up.
All right, Dr. Carson, always good to see you, and I suspect you'll be in that administration, too. I'm pretty confident.
Impact segment tonight, demonizing the police. Funerals held today for 3 of the 5 slain police officers. You'll know they were killed in Dallas on Thursday night. Very sad occasion for the country, obviously. There's no question that the Black Lives Matter and other far-left radical groups are attacking the credibility of U.S. law enforcement in general. They're doing that despite facts that destroy their contention that American police are biased against black people. According to the Bureau of Justice statistics, from 2012 to 13, latest available, African Americans were responsible for 22.4% of all violent crimes in the USA, despite being just 13% of the population. Whites responsible for 43% of violent crimes, with Caucasians making up 62% of the population. But here's the kicker. When you look at police shooting victims, whites comprise 50% of those shot, blacks just 26%. Joins now from Irvine, California, Heather McDonald, author of the brand new book, The War on Cops, How the New Attack on Law and Order Makes Everyone Less Safe. So I believe that there is a false narrative, and you do too. I read your book. How did that get out into the public, where half the public believes that the cops are institutionally racist against blacks?
Well, if the media seized on every video of an officer killing a white person, we might think there was an epidemic of police killing whites in this country. This is completely a function of what the media chooses to focus on. It's a media-driven phenomenon. I would also love to see the media focus on those children in inner-city communities whose lives have been lost in the last year thanks to police officers backing off of exactly the proactive policing that the media denounces as
that's a very
racist.
hard case to make in the sense of specificity. You can say in Chicago there have been more than 2,000 killings this year so far. More than not killings, shootings. More than 2,000 shootings so far this year. Nothing's being done about it. Black Lives Matter doesn't seem to care about it. They don't ever show up. You can make that case. But police backing away, it's a theoretical case. But let me challenge for a moment.
It's not theoretical. It's not theoretical, Bill. You cannot talk to an officer today who doesn't
but
say.
That's anecdotal. There are no hard facts. Whereas the facts that we just presented, show that there isn't an epidemic of blacks being gunned down by police, that whites are far more likely to be killed by police than blacks. Now, isn't part of the perception, though, and I agree with you that the media sensationalizes every videotape that a minority is being abused by police, and they ignore when a white person's being abused by police, or allegedly. But isn't it true that millions of black Americans have had bad relations at one time or another in their own personal lives with the cops, so that they're much more inclined to want to believe this?
Well, it is certainly true that we have a very bad history in this country of racism and policing. and that memory takes a long time to die out. There's been complicity on the part of the police in Jim Crow, segregation, slavery, but I'm not so sure that we have millions of people with unjustified encounters with the police. I think they are overwhelmed by the number of minority citizens who say, like Mrs. Sweeper in the Bronx, thank heavens for the police. Please, Jesus, send more cops.
Yes, I think you'll get that, but I think it is true that millions of African Americans feel aggrieved at some point in their lives. Now, your book focuses on cause and effect, all right? And one of the effects of the demonization of American police is that violent crime is now, for the first time in decades, on the rise in American cities, correct?
Correct. In cities with large black populations, the rise is truly alarming. It's anywhere from 54% in Washington, D.C. last year, increase in homicides, to a 90% increase in homicides in Cleveland. And of course, Bill, as you can well predict, who's being killed? Blacks. Who's killing them? Not the police, not whites, but other blacks. This is what happens when police back off from the sort of proactive policing that gave us an unforeseen and unprecedented 20-year drop in violent crime.
All right, and your book backs that up with statistics. Heather, we appreciate you coming on today, and we have a BillO'Reilly.com poll question for you. Do you approve of Black Lives Matter? Do you approve of that organization? Simple yes or no. Now, we know the outcome of this non-scientific poll. We know what it's going to be, but we want to see the plurality and stack it up against the scientific polls on the subject. So please vote.
The leader of the new Black Panthers Party says his group will arm themselves in self-defense during protests at the RNC in Cleveland. Under Ohio's open carry laws, those who legally own guns can have them in the area around the convention.
Unresolved Problem segment tonight. Attorney General Loretta Lynch testifying before a House committee today about the Hillary Clinton email fiasco. Mrs. Lynch said pretty much the same thing over and over.
Secretary Clinton stated that she never sent or received information marked as classified on her server. Director Comey stated that was not true. Do you agree with Director Comey?
He's chosen to provide detailed statements, and I would refer you to those statements. Again, I would have to refer you to Director Comey's statements for the basis for his recommendation. Again, I would refer you to Director Comey for any further explanation. Again, I refer you to Director Comey's discussion for that.
And I refer you now to Lisa Booth in Washington and here in New York City, Juan Williams. You know, Juan, I like Loretta Lynch. She did a great job here, as I said, in New York. That was just BS. It was painful to watch.
Yeah, I tell you what's painful to watch is watch Republicans beating a dead horse. I mean, clearly.
Was there a dead horse in there?
There's a dead horse here. It's over.
Who killed the horse?
I tell you what, who killed the horse is Jim Comey. You heard Loretta Lynch saying, hey, Comey did the investigation.
Yeah.
The FBI did. But and they're trying to politicize Loretta Lynch.
But she's Comey's boss.
Yeah.
So straightforward questions were, do you agree, as Attorney General, with what Mr. Comey said? And Loretta Lynch wouldn't answer. Why?
Well, there was no answer because...
There was a yes or no,
no,
I agree or disagree.
How can she, on what basis, Bill?
On the basis of what Comey said.
If she said, I agree or disagree, Bill O'Reilly would have been all up her beehive.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, yes, indeed.
She was asked a question.
Come on,
God.
Because she's not an investigator.
You know
she's
what?
not an FBI
Well, let me
agent.
say this, and you know I love you, right? And I love Kirsten. I love her. I'm in a loving mood.
That's unbelievable.
Right? I get a better answer than that from a dead horse.
Oh, yeah,
wow.
that's what I
that
said.
Dead horse.
Yeah, that's the
right, you shut up. Lisa, what do you say? I got nothing.
Bill,
I got nothing from that.
I find it a little bit laughable when Juan's talking about politicizing an issue when Democrats use this as an opportunity to talk about gun control, which had nothing to do with the subject matter. So I'm sorry, you're a little bit
you're
off
wrong,
base
Lisa.
there.
You're wrong.
No.
There may have been a gun somewhere in one of the hackers' homes that got the information from Hillary Clinton.
Well,
Did you not know that?
And that's the line of logic, right? But look, the bigger impact here is, yes, of course she was very careful about what she said because she lost any ability to be able to say she was impartial when she met with Bill Clinton.
Well, just answer the question. You're the boss of the Justice Department. Are you backing up your FBI chief? Do you believe what he said is true? Yes or no?
Right.
Is that
No,
a
I agree
hard
with you.
one?
No, it's not. And I think she she should have done that. And I think it's a shame on
because
her for not.
once she started that stuff, then everybody with a brain said, you know what, this is a waste of time.
But
all right,
Bill,
let's get to topic 2, because it was a waste of time. And topic 2 is Bernie Sanders, who you idolize.
Oh, get out of
you
here.
do so.
I do not.
I saw that you in your car. You have a picture of Bernie.
Yeah,
you know?
oh, that's it?
Yeah.
I see.
It must
be like that,
on the mirror.
That little thing you put in
so he endorses
the HOV loan.
He endorses Hillary Clinton today.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Is that good? Does that help?
Oh, yeah, it helps.
Yep.
Remember, you have a lot of Bernie supporters who are slow to come over. Now, you think back to 2008, Clinton supporters were even slower to come over to Obama.
Yeah.
I think this is a necessary embrace. But the bigger story here, I hope you're not missing it, is leftward drift of the Democratic Party.
Oh, believe me, and he finally said something smart.
Get out of here.
Tomorrow's talking points
Yes.
are on Bernie Sanders' true vision that he hides from the country. All right, Lisa, does it matter? Does it matter that Bernie is now on the Clinton train?
It certainly does, because it helps Hillary Clinton coalesce the base. I do think that Donald Trump has an opportunity on the issue of trade, because that is a weakness of Hillary Clinton. But of course, this helps her consolidate the base. But there is no dead horse in regarding to the email scandal. When you have 1/3 of Democrats who disapprove of the FBI's decision to not bring charges, 60% of independents and the majority of Americans who disapprove of the FBI's decision to not bring charges,
but we'll see how that
it's not a dead
translates
horse.
to votes.
That horse is alive.
Well, that horse is gone. I wish you Republicans would leave it.
The horse is beating.
Enough with the horse.
It's walking. It's good.
Put the horse in the corral.
Attorney General Loretta Lynch was on the Hill today in front of the House Judiciary Committee at an oversight hearing on Justice Department operations. Regarding those operations, Attorney General Lynch stonewalled the committee with non-answers and legal diversion.
Director Comey stated that there is evidence of potential violations of the statutes regarding the handling of classified information. Do you agree with Director Comey's statement?
Again, I would refer you to Director Comey for any further explanation as to the basis for his recommendations. The recommendation that I received from the team, including Director Comey, was that the investigation be resolved without charges.
Director Comey made a recommendation, but he made a recommendation to the Department of Justice, which you head, and you would have to come to the final conclusion on whether or not to act. I would presume that before you acted, you would look at his conclusions and determine whether you agreed with them or not.
Meanwhile, the Democrats used the opportunity to promote gun control.
There is an epidemic of gun violence. And how has the majority in Congress responded? With emergency hearings about Hillary Clinton's and Lois Lerner's emails.
Democratic Congressman Hank Johnson weighed in on the Democrats' perception that the hearings were unimportant to the protection of national security.
My colleagues on the other side of the aisle don't. They're just tone deaf, and they insist on chasing rabbits down holes by trying to make some hay out of something that this is over with.
You may remember Johnson once expressed concern over Guam tipping over.
The whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
We don't anticipate that.
But Lynch could not avoid the clarity surrounding her decision to speak with Bill Clinton days before the decision and her declaration to support the FBI's investigation before the investigation was closed.
You have a conversation with the former president, the husband of the subject of an ongoing investigation, and you have that conversation before they've interviewed the subject and before they've reached their recommendations and finished their investigation. That's what triggered you to do this thing you've never done before, which is announce, I don't care what they recommend, I'm going to follow it.
My concern was that the conversation that I had with President Clinton would be seen by some as having an influence over that. I felt it was important to clarify.
Just some, General Lynch, a lot of people.
But now, as Kurt Nimmo writes, FBI Director James Comey's past and present employment as director of HSBC's holdings and subsequent promotion to independent non-executive director and a member of the Financial System Vulnerabilities Committee, an appointment set to expire this year, clearly has blatant ties to the Clinton Foundation. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Bob Goodlatte of Virginia and committee member Representative Trey Gowdy of South Carolina want to know if the emails that were deleted and recovered by the FBI had anything to do with the Clinton Foundation. The Mexican drug cartel money laundering Swiss bank, HSBC, is connected to the Clinton Foundation through a number of initiatives, including its Building the Corporate Coalition, investing in management and leadership in Vietnam, and other American economy-destroying free trade agreement projects. Goldman Sachs, Deutsche Bank, Morgan Stanley, and a number of transnational corporations also participate. The Clintons have used the foundation to enrich themselves. Documents disclosed through litigation by Judicial Watch provided a roadmap for over 200 conflict of interest rulings that led to at least $48 million in speaking fees for the Clintons during Hillary Clinton's tenure as Secretary of State. Hillary Clinton and her aides were involved in fundraising for the foundation, and she turned the State Department into the D.C. office of the Clinton Foundation, something she will now do to the White House. What will it take to convince every American citizen that they are being scammed at the highest levels? In my next report, I will be digging into Comey's involvement into Whitewater. Comey's protection of the Clinton corruption machine goes way back. John Bound for Infowars.com.
In the decade after iodine was added to staple foods, there was a 15-point increase in IQs in the areas that had previously been deficient. This is something on record our bodies need. I've gone out and found the best source for myself and my family. I hope you'll visit InfoWarsLife.com and get our InfoWars Life Survival Shield, because all of my research shows this is absolutely key to getting people out of the brain fog that they've been artificially put into by the social engineers.
We are following new developments this evening in an alleged plot to kill police in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. 3 suspects have been arrested, and the urgent manhunt now underway for another suspected of planning to attack officers in the wake of the police shooting of Alton Sterling. ABC's Alex Perez in that city on edge tonight.
Tonight, authorities in Baton Rouge on the hunt for a suspect they say was part of a plot to kill police officers. 3 other suspects and a 13-year-old taken into custody. The alleged threat uncovered after a failed burglary attempt at this pawn shop Saturday. 8 guns stolen. One of the suspects telling police the plan was to steal ammunition to target police officers at protests.
We have been questioned repeatedly over the last several days about our show of force. Well, this is the reason.
Those protests is sparked by this chilling video, the shooting death of Alton Sterling. Court documents now revealing the officers claim they saw the butt of a gun in Sterling's pocket and fired after he attempted to reach for the gun. But Sterling's 15-year-old son, who broke down shortly after the shooting, today defending his father.
My father was a good man.
Tonight, a plea for peace.
Protest and peace. Not guns, not drugs, not alcohol, not violence.
And David, authorities here remain on high alert and say they will take any threats seriously. David?
Alex Perez with us tonight. Thanks, Alex.
Like any mother, Lucero Rodriguez is anxious to be with her son in intensive care. You can see it, how her touch so comforts Dylan. And yet this mother says it's agony knowing there is much more he needs that she can't give him.
At this point, things are getting worse and worse. We can't get medical supplies for the baby. We can't even find the formula he needs to grow. Now we're making sacrifices. I've been in this hospital for 15 days and I've witnessed how children are dying every day.
And doctors tell us that's a real risk for Dylan. He has cystic fibrosis. It damages the lungs and digestive system. Right now, the medical team works hard to expunge dangerous mucus. But here in Venezuela, Dylan can't get the antibiotics or any of the other specialized medicine he needs to help him survive. But Dylan's not alone, Dr. Uniades Urbina says, standing by his side. 70 to 80% of the medicines children need in Venezuela haven't arrived at Caracas's pediatric hospital or anywhere else for months. Even cancer patients are left untreated.
The sad truth is pediatric oncology has been completely shut down in this hospital. Chemo is being done here, but the doctors tell us that the medicines are still completely inadequate.
6-year-old Gustavo has leukemia, but instead of intensive therapy, his is sporadic. His mother, Gabriela Mota, worries about when he'll have his next chemo treatment, having already seen 4 children die without it.
No sé de quién sea la culpa.
I don't know whose fault it is, she explains. If it's the government or the opposition or XYZ, I don't know. It's sad for us to suffer for whoever did this to our children.
Do you have any doubt that children are dying because these medicines?
Yes, of course, totally. We have the intensive care unit. It's about 10 beds. We only are working with 4.
Why?
That means because we don't have medical supplies, we don't have enough nurses. We have to work in this condition.
Dr. Rubina takes us to ICU and shows us the leaks, the mold, the derelict conditions.
And you will see this area. 4 years ago, there was a fire.
4 years. Still, this wing hasn't been rebuilt. You can see why Dr. Urbina says most days he and his colleagues feel they are practicing wartime medicine. Shuttered wards, broken equipment, festering toilets.
We have to deal with that because we love our children, we love our hospital, we love Venezuela, and even though this you are looking at, we have to work.
Parents carry on too. This is an intimate moment as Lucero showers Dylan with all the love she can, still burdened by what is not in short supply here: despair.
Created in a dazzling array of colors and flavors, these artisanal donuts were already a hit with sweet-toothed New Yorkers.
There you are.
But now, the company behind them is on a real sugar high as word is out that this store is a Pokemon Go hotspot known as a gym.
Just outside the store, a battle for supremacy of the gym is raging on the streets of the Lower East Side.
So you should just let us take the gym.
I'm going to wait till they finish, and I'm just going to destroy their gym.
Oh my God, just leave us alone!
A flashpoint for rival teams.
This is what the gym looks like.
Gyms allow users to train and bulk up the Pokemon characters that they catch in the augmented reality world.
We're not even from here. We're from Long Island. And we were taking the train here to go to the city, but then we saw all the Pokestops and we just got off the train. Like, some places have signs Pokemon related, and it kind of makes you want to go in there.
Owner Mark Israel created a whole new product. After discovering that all 4 of his stores were gyms or Pokespots, he designed what he calls a Pokeseed to capture the imagination of new customers.
We found out about it Friday, when the game came out, and then by Saturday morning we had the Pokeseed out. As soon as we finished it, we took a picture of it and we put it on the social media, and people started coming down to the shop before we even brought it out.
He's charging a 20-cent premium on Pokeseeds and says overall business is up by an estimated 15%. Marketing experts say businesses could further profit from Pokemon if Nintendo opens up its platform and allows stores to become partners.
They can see their customers walking through and take advantage of these different Pokemon stops if they were able to rent out or buy Pokemon locations.
Would you like your receipt? That's okay. All right.
It seems the time has arrived where we're going to taste one of these.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Pokeseed.
Salud.
Now it's about keeping pace with demand, a challenge likely shared by other small businesses suddenly caught up
Delicious.
in the global Pokemon phenomenon. Nick Parker, CNN, New York.
Today, the new Black Panther Party is shutting down allegations that its leader is instructing his members to bring firearms to protests ahead of the Republican convention in Cleveland. In an article published by Reuters, the party's chairman says there are groups threatening to do harm, and they plan to bring firearms to exercise Second Amendment rights. A statement released today by the new Black Panther Party says, quote, "The new Black Panther Party is not instructing anyone in any way, shape, form, or fashion to bring weapons to Cleveland. Any person who exercises that right only does so as a personal choice, not by the instructions of the NBPP national chairman. any of our national staff or membership.
Tonight, along the North Korean border, where nearly 29,000 U.S. soldiers are stationed, a tense standoff over America's plans to deploy an advanced anti-missile system. Kim Jong-un's regime, through one of its news anchors, threatening as soon as that system is set up, North Korea will attack it.
It is the unwavering will of our army to deal a ruthless retaliatory strike and turn the South into a sea of fire and a pile of ashes the moment we have an order to carry it out.
The missile system, called THAAD, or Terminal High Altitude Area Defense, is a battery that can shoot down short and medium-range ballistic missiles, the kind that Kim has been test-firing relentlessly in recent months. A Pentagon official tells CNN tonight the U.S. and South Korea decided to deploy THAAD because of Kim's, quote, continued belligerence. Experts say the missile batteries will likely be set up on U.S. bases inside South Korea.
What could they do against U.S. and South Korean troops manning those positions? Could they strike them? Would they be vulnerable?
They could use artillery pieces. They now have longer range multiple rocket launchers, which the THAAD is not designed to defend against.
Also, U.S. Strategic Command says it has detected a submarine-based ballistic missile launch by the North Koreans. South Korean officials say that test over the weekend was not successful. But the prospect of the North Koreans someday perfecting submarine-launched missiles is alarming to American commanders because they're hard to defend against.
They've taken that a giant leap forward by developing a submarine that could creep along coastlines and avoid U.S. naval counteraction and shoot a ballistic missile at some place like Hawaii.
A capability that analysts believe the North Koreans could have within 5 years. All of this comes as the U.S. is leveling sanctions against Kim Jong-un for human rights abuses. Tonight, Kim's retaliating, cutting off his only channel of diplomatic communications with the U.S., a channel operated through North Korea's mission to the UN.
The cheering and the taunting belies their desperation until you see what they're facing down the road. These Venezuelan families are ready to do combat, and it's primal, a fight for food. What about us, screams Yolanda Rodon. What about our children? What about our grandchildren? Nothing?
The government is supposed to be distributing staples, but they have not seen it. They say that's why they've taken matters into their own hands and they're blocking the road. They're waiting to see what will become of this confrontation with the riot police. As you can see right now, they're showing no fear.
Feelings are raw, but this scene far from rare now in Venezuela. The people in this suburb of Caracas tell us there's been no flour, milk, pasta, rice, none of the basics in nearly a month. Hunger gives way to anger, gives way to daring, a rebuke to those who arrive with guns and shields instead of flour and milk.
They approach us as if we're terrorists. Gentlemen, we're just hungry.
But the hunger and rage of the day turns to quiet desperation in the dead of night. Like millions here, Carmen Escala gets up earlier and earlier to line up for food. Sometimes, she says, we leave early and find nothing. We come back as we left. Carmen is just across the street from the presidential palace, but food shortages stalk this neighborhood like all others. So Carmen grabs her purse, leaves her 3 children and husband behind, in search of food on her government-assigned shopping day. And she joins millions of others who walk the line, now sometimes for the entire night. Charayaves is a bedroom community outside of Caracas, and it's now taken on a whole new meaning. Hundreds of families, children in tow, sleeping rough the whole night, on sidewalks, in ditches, desperate to keep their place in line before the suppliers run out of food. What did you come here to buy? We asked Cristiel Martinez and baby Alberto. Whatever there is, she says. The night vigil escapes no one. If you want to eat, join the line, la cola. And even then, it may not be enough. Daybreak comes and disappoints. More and more, even standing in these lines is futile. leaving Venezuela at loose ends, unraveling more quickly by the day. Today, the families get only assurances. Riot police say they will look into the shortages. The rage is allowed to simmer. They eventually surrender the road, but Venezuela's streets still look and feel like a battleground for survival.
We're going to be live here for the next 4 hours. We have no guest because I wanted to clear the decks out so that we'd have a chance to really get into what's happening in the world today, not just economically, but culturally, and break down all of the latest developments that are unfolding here in the United States as well. I'm your host, Alex Jones. Thank you so much for joining us. There is incredible technology news. There is amazing robotics news. There is over-the-top global government news. There's Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton 2016 news. There's major nuclear news. Why, I've got a BBC article here saying that radiation wasn't so bad after all, that Fukushima isn't a problem. That's even better than the one I heard about Obamacare being free. There's more police departments and police being shot around the country. Oh, there's plenty to talk about dealing with Black Lives Matter. But as a backdrop to all of this, I just want to make the point that humanity is in a deepening crisis, biologically, culturally, spiritually. We have lost our human identity by design. And I was sitting back last night before I went to bed, and then at about 3:30 in the morning when I woke up and couldn't sleep for about an hour, with just the profound understanding that the evil forces running our planet are out to get the species itself. Everything they do, and their own textbooks and their own white papers and their own statements are about how bad humanity is and how we've got to be culled, reduced, or completely exterminated. And this is being said and pushed by fellow humans. And they just undermine real clean technology. They undermine real innovation. Everything they end up giving us is some twisted aberration filled with Trojan horses. And I'm not being negative saying this. I'm being honest. The positive point here is that we know the globalists are the enemy of humanity. We know whoever they are and whatever runs them. The devil, some mass psychotic psychic link of evil, I don't know. All I know is they're working around the clock to sabotage civilization. Not just to be able to manage it and control it, but because they like seeing poverty and collapse and ignorance and failure. There is a war going on against humanity, just as the Bible says the devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy, and is the author of lies. And I look at our world system and I tell you, if there isn't a physical entity, an interdimensional entity, a creature, a group of creatures, if that doesn't exist, then it's about to exist. Because if you look at the genetic engineering and all the chimeras and what's going on, aliens by the thousands a week, conservatively, are being produced by the technocrats on the earth right now. And they've already got AI, which is a new life form.
In 1969, Bill Clinton was expelled from Oxford for raping 19-year-old Eileen Wellstone. Read about this and every one of his crimes against women. The Clintons' War on Women. In stores now.
Special Forces selection, it's not like you could ever take the easy road. You can't take steroids to make, being a Special Forces operator easy. I'm always looking for the best and natural way to get myself to the limit. I have to have the edge over my opponents. I believe that super male vitality, that gives me the edge. I've been taking it, and I'm still getting faster and stronger every day.
Start your journey to super male vitality today at InfoWarsLife.com.
As the mobile app Pokemon Go game continues to grow as a cultural phenomenon, there are serious concerns about the personal data the app is collecting while players out there wander around collecting Pikachus. The company that developed the game is gathering information like your email address, IP address, and your location. All right, so Dan, the question is, a lot of apps collect this kind of information. What are they collecting, and how long is it that these companies are holding on to that information?
Yeah, in this case, they kind of ran into two problems at the same time. First, because it's a geolocation app, it uses your actual location and a map to tell you where to go in the game. Some people were lying in wait at the back of dark parking lots and mugging people when they came to collect an item in the game. So that was one problem. The second problem was on iOS devices, by default, the app asks for a lot of permissions to access information in your Google account if you're signed in through Google, and the game is made by a sister company of Google, so you're likely to do that. They've actually come back within a couple of days and changed that and reduced it to just asking for basically your Google username and your email address, which is a lot more, common.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. How has the company, Niantic is the name of it, reacted to these concerns?
Well, they claim they never meant to ask for full permission access to your Google account in the first place. It was just sort of a bug on the iOS version. They certainly should have taken it seriously because they pushed an update through already. And of course, senators are already sending letters to Niantic asking for an explanation of what happened. I think we're not going to see this issue go away right away.
What does this mean for potential hackers, though? When you see that so many people were on this thing and continue to be on it, I mean, it has to be sort of an attractive prospect for hackers.
Oh, especially if you give an app a lot of permissions to access, your material, whether it's items in your Google Drive account or your email or your location data. Because Niantic is a Google, basically, subsidiary or sister company, I don't feel too concerned about that. But if another app did that and they were compromised somehow, they could certainly have access to a lot of your information.
The most serious injury suffered by an officer was a broken vertebrae when a concrete block was dropped on his head. But as you heard Courtney Godfrey report, protesters say this trouble was all caused by anarchists or outside agitators. But police today putting the blame on some of the protesters.
At first, protesters were disruptive, blocking all lanes of I-94, but peaceful.
This is an unlawful assembly. You are subject to arrest.
Police gave more than 25 warnings to leave. Hundreds stayed on the freeway, on the bridge. Police say the protest became a riot.
And protesters last night turned into criminals, and I'm absolutely disgusted by the acts of some, not all, but some.
Some of those people threw projectiles on or near the freeway.
One of the rocks actually hit the officer's badge and actually scraped off the entire front of the badge.
If he's got a bottle, if he's got a bottle, mark him.
We had 21 police officers last night that were injured. Rocks, bottles, rebar.
To try to move the crowd, police say they used non-irritant smoke and other non-lethal devices. Officers also sprayed mace, they say occasionally. Our camera caught mace sprayed near a truck with children.
They maced the child! This is a truck full of children!
Police defended their actions, saying officers did not mace children, but maced adults, getting in the way of police getting the truck to safety.
We took every possible step to make sure children weren't involved in this incident last night. And for the life of me, I can't understand why you would put a child into that position in the first place. It's really disgusting, if you ask me.
The shamelessness of someone that would bring children and use them as shields into a situation like that is absolutely outrageous.
After clearing the freeway and nearby area, police reopened 94 more than 5 hours after the protest started.
And we're hoping and praying that tonight's a better night.
Now back here live at the Ramsey County Jail where extra security is on hand. You can see some officers up there on the roof. This is where the people arrested on the freeway are being held. In all, 50 people arrested on the freeway on I-94. 8 of those are from out of state. They're being held on third-degree rioting charges. Now, another 52 arrested later that night, or early this morning, I should say, on Grand Avenue. They were all booked and released on less serious charges and are not in jail. But a rally was scheduled here for 9 o'clock tonight. We're not seeing many people here yet, Kelsey. More security than people, but we'll keep an eye on things here.
miscreant has thrown a pot with fire at the entrance of a church. This has happened in Karnataka's Tumkur district. In fact, the pot then exploded near the gate, partially damaging the main door. In fact, this entire incident has been caught on CCTV, which is now being examined by the cops. Well, the police have registered a case under Section 436 as well as 295A of the IPC. Well, there you have it. Miscreants are still on the run. Those who have attacked yet another church in India. Remember this after a spate of church attacks which were being reported by the end of last year and the beginning of this year. And unfortunately, it seems the menace has returned. And this time around, it is in Karnataka. And you can see them very, very clearly there on your screens. The miscreant there running towards the gate of the church and flings a pot of fire towards the main gate. What we believe is that it has partially damaged the main door of the church as well. We are still waiting for more inputs to come in if this miscreant has been captured or not by Siddaramaya's policemen. But then this entire attack on this church has been caught on camera, and it is something which has shamed India again. Well, what we have picked up so far is that the entire incident which has been caught on CCTV footage, in fact, this is the footage which is going to prove to be very, very crucial in identifying this miscreant and finding out if he was working individually or if he was part of a larger group, a larger conspiracy which is there to intimidate minorities. We also know that the police have registered a case under Section 436 as well as 295A of the IPC. However, there is no clarity as of yet if this miscreant has been caught or not. However, he can be seen very clearly here on the CCTV footage, and hopefully this footage is going to be crucial for the investigators to identify, capture and arrest this man and bring him to justice. What we do know is that the church's main door has been partially damaged by it. No other casualties have been reported. No other damage too has been reported. Unfortunately, this is indicative of the larger shame which has been brought to India after minorities have been attacked and their institutions have been attacked so brazenly. But with that,
c'était le pire moment de notre vie, quoi. C'est la perte de notre fille. C'est quelque chose de dévastateur, quoi. C'est terrible. Et puis le moment fatidique est arrivé. Il a fallu qu'on aille reconnaître Cécile à la morgue. Et malheureusement, c'était bien elle. Voilà. Je voulais voir ses mains, surtout, c'était ses mains. Et je l'ai vue, quoi. En fait, je les ai suppliés de la faire partir de là parce que c'était vraiment quelque chose d'horrible. Et le mercredi, nous sommes repartis d'Égypte avec elle. Malheureusement, nous étions dans l'avion et ma fille était dans la soute. Et voilà. Ça, c'est aussi quelque chose de très dur aussi à gérer. Ensuite, s'est passé l'enterrement. Et puis, voilà, après la suite, ça a été de retourner à la maison seule et de se demander ce qui se passait, quoi. C'était un véritable cauchemar. Et le cauchemar a continué encore pendant très longtemps, puisqu'on se bat toujours à l'heure actuelle, depuis 7 ans, pour avoir la vérité et la justice pour notre fille.
The attack shocked them and they really wanted to know what happened. So they started reading the case back and forth. They know it by heart right now. They know all the names of the people, all the places, and they've been doing the job of police officers actually.
Non seulement on nous tue nos enfants, mais en plus de ça, il faut quémander en fait une justice. Donc c'est complètement anormal. C'est une double peine en fait pour les victimes, pour les personnes qui ont perdu leurs êtres chers. S'ils avaient fait leur travail correctement, S'ils avaient arrêté ces personnes-là, je pense sincèrement que l'attentat du 13 novembre n'aurait pas eu lieu, oui.
What the Bataclan case is showing us right now is that we haven't done everything to prevent those young terrorists to attack us.
Ces noms-là, on avait déjà demandé aux juges de faire leurs enquêtes dessus, et là on les voyait tous défiler. La prochaine étape, c'est encore se battre pour la justice et la vérité pour Cécile, parce qu'on ne lâchera jamais.
Hey NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives.
Now to a
Thanks for
developing
watching.
headline tonight, the urgent search right now for a serial shooter in the Phoenix area. Police now linking at least 7 deaths, 8 shootings to the same suspect or suspects, and tonight a new reward. The victims apparently chosen at random in front of homes. Here's ABC's Kana Whitworth.
Tonight, Phoenix police on high alert, on the hunt for a serial killer or killers after recently linking 4 more incidents to a string of shootings. In all, 7 people have been killed. The youngest victim, just 12 years old.
The person that is doing this is wicked. There's something wrong with them.
The shootings started in March, first focused in West Phoenix, but now a total of 8. Police say spanning nearly 100 square miles, putting thousands of residents in danger. Police telling ABC News in each case the shooter or shooters opened fire on a weekend night in front of a home where cars were parked.
In these incidents, the motive is not apparent at all.
Police releasing this composite sketch today, hoping someone will come forward.
The FBI has joined the investigation while local police are stepping up patrols on nights and weekends, and a $30,000 reward is being offered.